October 4, 1940, Washington, D.C. A stark memorandum lands on a rear admiral's desk. Its subject, Status of Cryptanalytical Activities. It is a snapshot of American naval intelligence, an undervalued, often misunderstood, and underfunded domain. The Great War had ended decades prior, and with it, the Navy underwent a sharp decline in personnel. From over 500,000 men in 1918 to just over 100,000 by 1925. In this era of austerity, specialized fields like cryptanalysis were seen as esoteric, even whimsical, dismissed by many as mere cryptic pursuits. Yet, a dedicated few recognized its nascent power. Figures like Lawrence Safford championed the cause of naval communications intelligence, laying the groundwork for what would become a hidden war. A war fought in basements and behind locked doors. At the heart of this clandestine effort was a quiet, formidable figure, Commander Joseph Rochefort, a man whose formal education was limited, but whose intellect was boundless. He was a high school dropout who secured his diploma years later by crediting his Navy training. A true Mustang in an Annapolis-dominated world. His strength lay not just in breaking codes, but in understanding the enemy's mind, in the intricate dance of Japanese language and the patterns of their radio traffic. By 1929, Rochefort and his confidant, Edwin Layton, were part of a small pioneering group, developing techniques that went far beyond simple message decipherment. This was the science of traffic analysis, examining the call signs of vessels, the frequencies they used, the routing of their messages, the strength of their signals, the unique fists of their radio operators, every detail a potential clue, every pattern a window into intent. In 1941, Rochefort was assigned to Pearl Harbor, a strategic nexus where naval operations would collide with the gathering storm. His unit, Station Hypo, was housed in the basement of the 14th Naval District Administration building, a space often sensationalized in later accounts as a fortress of extreme security. The reality was more pragmatic, a secure, yet unassuming environment, protected by a heavy steel door, but without the theatrical guards or locked gates of Hollywood law. Hypo was a microcosm of the new intelligence paradigm, staffed by linguists, cryptanalysts like Thomas Dyer, and traffic analysts such as Forrest Bayard. By June 1941, this small dedicated team was operating on a 7-day work week. Racing against time, their focus laser-sharp on the complex Japanese naval codes. Among them the JN-25 system, a multi-layered cipher that used codebooks for words and phrases, then disguised these with additive books, each digit altered by false arithmetic. A system designed for impenetrable secrecy, but one that Rochefort's system breakers was slowly, meticulously unraveling. The U.S. unraveling, the U.S. nummeling, Navy could now read portions of Japanese diplomatic traffic. The Purple Machine, deciphered by the brilliant William F. Friedman, provided early, yet fragmented, insights. By September 25, 1940, the first complete Japanese diplomatic message had been read. Yet, as the fateful year of 1941 drew to a close, a systemic intelligence failure was unfolding. A failure not of interception, but of synthesis, dissemination, and decisive action. By November 1, 1941, Admiral Yamamoto issued his Combined Fleet Secret Operation Order No. 1, mandating absolute radio silence for his first air fleet, the Kaido Butchery. Keys sealed, fuses removed, their movements concealed by deceptive radio traffic from land-based stations. Intercepted communications revealed fragments of a looming crisis. The bomb plot message of September 24th, detailing subareas of Pearl Harbor for reporting on ship locations, a crucial piece of the puzzle, but one that remained disconnected from a cohesive understanding of an impending attack. On November 27, 1941, war warnings were issued from Washington, but these were often too general, lacking the specific, actionable intelligence that commanders like Admiral Kimmel needed. Rochefort himself later stated that if Pearl Harbor had possessed a Purple Machine, he and Layton could have made a better evaluation. The critical wins execute message, intended to signal the onset of war, was either never broadcast or never recognized as such. a profound breakdown in a pre-war alert system. Despite Rochefort's team processing thousands of Japanese naval dispatches between September and December 1941, the full picture remained tragically obscured, was not entirely blindsided. But it was strategically paralyzed by a complex web of fragmentation, misinterpretation, and bureaucratic division. Then, on December 7, 1941, the attack on Pearl Harbor began. A devastating surprise, a tragic testament to the challenges of intelligence analysis and the cost of systemic failure. It forced a profound reassessment of America's intelligence capabilities and highlighted the urgent need for improved inter-service cooperation. The Pacific War was now fully engaged, and the quiet men of Station Hypo, led by Rochefort, found themselves at the forefront of a desperate fight for survival. Their focus intensified, their 7-day workweek, relentless, the JN-25 code, a stubborn adversary, but one that was slowly, painstakingly yielding its secrets. By January 8, 1942, the first significant translation of the JN-25 code occurred. It was a breakthrough, but the sheer volume of Japanese communications and the complexity of the code system meant that full decipherment was an ongoing battle. Hypo's cryptanalysts, men like Tommy Dyer, were system breakers, not merely code breakers. They sought to unravel the very structure of the cipher. The Japanese, in their operational complacency, sometimes aided their adversaries. Code clerks would start from the beginning of additive books or use the same additives repeatedly, creating discernible patterns that Hypo's team eagerly exploited. The tension in the basement of Station Hypo was palpable. Commander Rochefort, calm under immense pressure, presided over a unit that became a beacon of hope. His direct reporting to Fleet Intelligence Officer Edwin Layton, and through him to Admiral Nimitz, bypassed traditional Edwin Layton, slower bureaucratic layers. This was a model of actionable intelligence, developed at the local level, to inform commanders of immediate enemy actions. By April 1942, Fleet Intelligence summaries indicated a growing awareness of Japanese naval activity. The Japanese Navy, crippled but not broken, was planning its next major offensive. The target was codenamed AF. Washington, however, believed AF was in the Aleutians. Nimitz, in Pearl Harbor, trusted Rochefort's instincts, which pointed to Midway Atoll. To resolve this critical discrepancy, Rochefort devised a brilliant ruse. Midway was instructed to send an uncoded message reporting a critical fresh water shortage. The Japanese, monitoring U.S. traffic, intercepted the message. Soon after, Hypo intercepted a Japanese transmission. AF is short of water. The ruse confirmed the target. Midway was indeed AF. This was the turning point. Nimitz, with limited carrier forces, could now concentrate them to ambush the Japanese fleet. Based on Rochefort's intelligence, Nimitz anticipated the Japanese arrival date and the likely direction of their attack. The U.S. fleet, though outnumbered, would lie in wait. This was the rendezvous in reverse. An unprecedented gamble. On May 27, 1942, Rochefort briefed Nimitz and his staff. The intelligence was clear: the Battle of Midway would begin on June 4th. And its outcome, already shaped by the unseen war of signals, would fundamentally alter the course of the Pacific War. The Battle of Midway was a decisive American victory. In a matter of days, the U.S. indeficiency, the U.S.B. Navy destroyed 4 Japanese aircraft carriers and severely crippled the Imperial Japanese Navy's offensive capability. It was a strategic triumph, and Joseph Rochefort's intelligence was the single most crucial factor. Without this intelligence, historians agree, the consequences would have been dire. Australia could have been isolated, Hawaii threatened by invasion, and the US forced into a Pacific-first strategy, potentially delaying critical European operations like D-Day. Midway stands with Salamis, Trafalgar, and Jutland, a battle where the tide of history was irrevocably turned. But the triumph of Midway and the critical role of Station Hypo also ignited deep-seated rivalries within the U.S. Navy's intelligence apparatus. The success created a desire for recognition and a potential shift in power. away from established communication intelligence units in Washington, like OP-20G, and toward emerging all-source centers in the Pacific. Rochefort himself had long harbored disdain for the perceived ineffectiveness of Washington-based units. His desk sign declared, "We can accomplish anything, provided no one cares who gets the credit," a sentiment that, ironically, would soon be tested. On June 8, 1942, just days after Midway, Rear Admiral Bagley, Rochefort's immediate superior, recommended Rochefort for the Distinguished Service Medal. But Admiral King, Commander-in-Chief U.S. Medal, Fleet, was persuaded by his Chief of Staff, Rear Admiral Russell Wilson, that no single individual should be singled out in intelligence. Rochefort, despite his pivotal role, was ruled out for a DSM. His initial recognition would be limited to a Legion of Merit. To be awarded, when circumstances permit, this marked the beginning of a decades-long struggle for recognition. The proposed creation of advanced intelligence centers across the Pacific, envisioned by Lieutenant General Thomas Holcomb, provided a new arena for interagency competition. ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence, strategically included COMINT within these centers' scope, threatening OP-20G's established control over this domain. Rochefort, seeking to protect HIPO's operational integrity and secure recognition for his crew, openly challenged Washington's authority. On June 17, 1942, he sent a defiant dispatch to OP-20G, declaring his allegiance to Nimitz and King, not to Washington-based intelligence. This was a direct confrontation. The Redmond brothers, Joseph and John, representing OP-20G, saw Rochefort's actions and Nimitz's proposals for the new centers as direct threats to their control and influence. On June 20, 1942, Joseph Redmond submitted his Radio Intelligence Organization memorandum, an aggressive move by OP-20G to reassert control and to discredit Rochefort and his team. The bureaucratic infighting escalated rapidly. The Chicago Tribune affair, a leak of classified information concerning Midway, though ultimately not traced to Pearl Harbor, provided the Redmonds with a pretext. An atmosphere of suspicion was cultivated, targeting Rochefort. On September 10, 1942, Captain John R. Redman arrived at Pearl Harbor. His presence marked a direct escalation. Covertly, he used Nimitz's personal radio call sign, with Joe Wenger in Washington, to authorize secret dispatches, painting Rochefort as uncooperative. By October 5, 1942, the Bureau of Naval Personnel consented to the transfer of Captain William B. Goggins to HIPO, an officer with no prior specialized radio intelligence experience. Goggins arrived on October 14, 1942. He was a man under his full and direct control, as perceived by OP-20G. Rochefort's immediate superior, Commandant Bagley, attempted to retain him, but the machinations were too powerful. On October 22, 1942, Rochefort received orders for temporary additional duty in Washington. He departed Hawaii on October 25. His abrupt removal, perceived by his dedicated staff as an internal coup, damaged morale, and while Goggins was not overtly intrusive, Rochefort's skills in cryptanalysis, Japanese language, and intuitive analysis were simply irreplaceable. The unit's intelligence output suffered. In Washington, Rochefort confronted Captain Holden, who had ordered incriminating messages burned, and Captain Stone, who admitted letting Joe Wenger handle completely the situation. Rochefort's direct challenges, his tirade against Captain George Dyer, King's personal intelligence officer, were attempts to expose the flimsy accusations against him, but they only hardened opposition and demonstrated his refusal to be appeased. Admiral King, relying on rumor and gossip, not solid evidence, issued a condescending letter to Nimitz, justifying Rochefort's removal. King's policy of preventing communication intelligence personnel from serving in war zones further cemented Rochefort's sidelining. Nimitz, needing to focus on the war, did not more forcefully intervene, leaving Rochefort unprotected. Rochefort's career was derailed from critical operational intelligence to administrative tasks on the West Coast, a significant demotion of his talents. In August 1943, he was ordered to Eureka, California, to supervise the construction of ABSD-2. a revolutionary floating dry dock, comprising 10 massive sections. When assembled, it would be 827 feet long, capable of lifting 90,000 tons, sufficient for any battleship, cruiser, or aircraft carrier. A position of immense responsibility, but far removed from the vital code-breaking work he excelled at. Many saw this as a waste of his genius. But Rochefort tackled the task with commendable enthusiasm. As Admiral Morel, chief of the Bureau of Yards and Docks, later attested, on March 28, 1944, Rochefort's path unexpectedly shifted. He was called to testify before Admiral Hart's Pearl Harbor inquiry. This marked his return to the national stage. On April 19, 1944, he reported for duty at Maine Navy in Washington, D.C., initially assigned to the Far Eastern section of ONI. It was during this period that Rochefort proposed a vital initiative, integrating vast amounts of comment material from OP-20G's backfiles into long-range planning against Japan, to establish submarine locations at all times during the war. Surprisingly, Rear Admiral Joseph Redman, who had previously campaigned against Rochefort, now championed this concept, perhaps an opportunist as Rochefort and Leighton would later describe John Redman. But his support led to Rochefort's detachment from ONI and the formal establishment of the Pacific Strategic Intelligence Section. Announced by Admiral King on November 14, 1944, PSIS was designed for the long-range view, reconstructing past Japanese codes, developing complete communications files. Rochefort found renewed purpose in this role, an inspiring leader and morale builder, as remembered by staffer Roger Pino. His promotion to captain on September 23, 1944, was a quiet acknowledgement, but the war was rapidly drawing to a close. On August 6 and 9, 1945, atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan surrendered on August 14. The mission of PSIS, so critical just weeks before, was suddenly obsolete. On September 15, 1945, Rochefort submitted his request for sea duty, and on June 24, 1946, he requested retirement. Effective January 1, 1947, ending a career that had seen moments of unparalleled triumph and profound bureaucratic injustice. For decades, Joseph Rochefort's contributions remained largely unrecognized. His Mustang status, his outspoken nature, and the inherent secrecy of intelligence work all contributed to this historical oversight. He believed an Annapolis education would have taught him not to fight City Hall, even during the post-Korean War period, when he was recalled to active duty to investigate intelligence failures. Rochefort found the state of naval intelligence even more unacceptable than it was in 1941, highlighting persistent systemic issues. In the mid-1950s, Rochefort's integrity was tested by Lawrence Sufford's group, who sought to prove a Pearl Harbor conspiracy. Their case hinged on an alleged east wind rain execute message, purportedly received on December 4, 1941. Rochefort's direct refutation was unwavering. His team at Haya never heard any such message, and he doubted it was ever sent. Safford's group, frustrated, labeled him a slick duck, but Rochefort chose factual accuracy over agenda-driven narratives. The campaign for his proper recognition began anew in November 1957, when Wilfred J. Jasper Holmes, Rochefort's friend and former colleague, visited Admiral Nimitz. Nimitz, in turn, wrote to the Secretary of the Navy in January 1958, urging reconsideration. But the request was denied, citing statutory limits. The true breakthrough came in 1981, when Rear Admiral Donald Mack Showers, a veteran of naval intelligence himself, spearheaded a renewed campaign. Showers meticulously compiled a comprehensive dossier, leveraging declassified documents and advocating publicly. At a naval history symposium in September 1985, Showers brought critical attention to the stalled award. The impact was undeniable. On November 17, 1985, the New York Times front page carried the announcement: the Navy would posthumously award a Distinguished Service Medal to Joseph Rochefort. On May 30, 1986, President Ronald Reagan presented the medal to Rochefort's family in a White House ceremony, a long overdue recognition. acknowledging his exceptionally meritorious service from March through June 1942. The period encompassing Midway. Reagan's words captured the essence. If ever there was a battle involving tens of thousands of men in which victory was attributable to one man, this one was attributable to Joseph J. Rochefort. In 1986, Rochefort also received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And in 2000, he was inducted into the National Security Agency's Hall of Honor. Finally, taking his rightful place among the giants of cryptology, Joseph J. Rochefort's story is a testament to the transformative power of intelligence, and a poignant reminder of the complex interplay between individual brilliance, bureaucratic politics, and the long winding road to historical recognition. His work, once shrouded in secrecy, now stands as a cornerstone of America's greatest naval victory. Yet, the journey to that victory was fraught with peril. It depended entirely on unraveling the tightly woven secrets of Imperial Japan. At the heart of this enigma was JN-25, the main operational code of the Imperial Japanese Navy, a system station Hypo attacked relentlessly, deep within their autonomy of basement quarters at Pearl Harbor. A unique ecosystem of intellect and machinery thrived. The machine room and IBM machines roared like a boiler factory, grinding through staggering volumes of intercepted traffic. Every signal, every burst, meticulously processed, using tools like the specialized RIP-5 typewriter and sensitive equipment such as the primitive Metox receiver. Their efforts extended beyond JN-25's various iterations. From early JN-25 to the more complex JN-25, they also delved into the intricacies of the Red Code project, a parallel assault on Japanese communications security involving the Red Machine. After the devastating blow to Admiral Husband E. Kimmel's fleet at Pearl Harbor, the pressure on Admiral Chester W.K. and Admiral Chester Nimitz, the new sinkers, was immense. Nimitz, a pragmatic strategist, understood the paramount value of intelligence. He placed his complete trust in Joseph Rochefort and the clandestine efforts of Station Hypo. Following the audacious Doolittle raid, the Japanese reacted. Their radio traffic intensified, revealing telltale patterns. Hypo's traffic analysis work became intensely focused after Doolittle raid. Rochefort's team pieced together fragmented clues, indicating a massive offensive was imminent. Their target, Midway Atoll, a seemingly insignificant speck of land, now critically strategic. The primary threat was Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto's formidable Kido Butai striking force, the core of the Imperial Japanese Navy's carrier power. Rochefort's daily summaries and intelligence reports were Nimitz's compass, navigating the fog of war, giving him unparalleled foresight, even amidst the bureaucratic challenges posed by Admiral Ernest J. King, Sinkers and CNO, whose demands for certainty were unyielding. Hypo had to prove beyond doubt the date and timing of the attack. They leveraged every scrap of data, including their knowledge of IJN capital ships' tonnage limitations, which hinted at Yamamoto's grand, but ultimately flawed, strategy. The Japanese, meanwhile, employed sophisticated radio deception, attempting to mask their true intentions and movements. That Station Hypo saw through the layers of deceit. Anticipation built towards a crucial moment, the wind's warning. A specific coded message designed to signal the start of hostilities, and with it the critical confirmation Nimitz needed for his preparations for Midway.